So I recently just heard that one of my favorite companies that has this amazing product is going out of business after several years of being in business or thinking they were in business. They're calling it quits. And I honestly had zero shock when they announced this. I had worked with them for a brief time a few years ago, and I remember wanting their success more than they wanted it. So I gave them advice based on work that I had done with other 8-figure clients at the time. And this company was so resistant to hearing what worked, to doing what would work. And I was so much in my ego of trying to help them when they didn't actually want the help and they weren't really ready for the help, that it just didn't work. The relationship broke down. I actually got very sick at that time. I got strep throat. And I remember thinking, you know what? Never again am I going to want a client's success more than they want it for themselves. And this was a lesson that I had to learn. I had to learn to let go of clients that just didn't want it. Because the way I write, you get sales and you have to be ready for it and you have to want it and you have to restructure things to be able to handle it. Not everybody is ready for that. And so when I saw this announcement from this company, I was like, I saw it coming. And you know, the weird thing about that is sometimes you can lock people into a perception that you have of them. So it's almost like you're putting a curse on them, a hex on them. So if you see someone in a negative light, say 5 years ago, and you have this idea of them like, oh man, they're really failing. They're really screwing up. And you don't change that perception of them over time, and they don't change anything, like you kind of lock them into that perception. It's really weird, but I've seen it happen. I've seen other people try to lock me into a perception that they had of me 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they're so entrenched in their perception of who I was at that time. They can't even fathom how different I am, like what I've done, where I am, who I am today. Like they're so locked into that. And I don't allow them to lock me into their perception. So like this company that is calling it quits, they made their announcement here in December at the end of 2021. It's almost 2022. So they're calling it quits on their dream that they started. And who knows what they're going to do? They're probably going to work for someone else. I don't know. Me personally, I've had rough times in my business, but I never quit. I had a time where I really wasn't figuring out how to make the money work. And there were many issues going on. And I got to the point where I moved back into my parents' house because I couldn't support myself. And dealt with that, moved back out. Took me a while, but I moved back out. And I created the urgency to where I was like, I see what I did wrong. It's really messed up. I'm not doing it anymore. Now, these people that are calling it quits, I haven't actually spoken to them in several years, so I can't really even say what they're going through. I have a feeling of what they're going through. And I remember what it was like to interact with them several years ago. And I remember the kinds of questions and non-questions that they had. And I remember thinking, why don't they just do what works? Why don't they do it? But they didn't, and now they're calling it quits. And, you know, for 2022, there's really only two options. You're either going all in to your own success in your business, or you're calling it quits. There's no middle ground. I think everything that's happening in the world, the split that's happening, it's also a split as far as what are you going to focus on? Are you going to focus on making it work, being successful, whatever that looks like for you, or are you going to focus on calling it quits because you're distracted, you don't know what to do, you have doubts? It's like, make a choice, because there's this split happening. I was born to be a writer, so I won't be quitting anytime soon, if ever. I was born to be an author, so I'm already working on my second book. I've already got a solid draft of it. It's well on its way to being finished. I'm discovering that I was apparently born to be some kind of teacher, because the way that life is leading me, I'm going in that direction. And tracing it back, I can think to when I was a kid and I was like teaching my three younger brothers these pretend school lessons on like a black chalkboard and like yelling at them to listen. And of course they didn't want to listen. But I've always had like these little seeds of what I'm meant to do. And looking back on this this company that's calling it quits, who is my former client, and I didn't do the work that I wanted to do with them. They weren't ready for it. They weren't really asking me for the help. And I was really trying to push that client, which I would not recommend. I'm looking back on that situation now, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, there's a reason that they didn't listen to me. And there's a reason that certain other people don't listen to me. And it's because I'm not killing it hard enough in my own life and business. And I actually could be doing way better. And I need to stop comparing the fact that where I am is a hell of a lot better than where a lot of people are. I need to stop using that as an excuse, because my next level is so magnificent, as my business coach once told me, that it's crazy. My next level is so magnificent that it's crazy. I remember like the first time I talked to him, he said that to me and I was blown away. And I've thought about that, and I'm like, yeah, that's the next level. The next level is so magnificent. And it's like, it's either one or the other. Like, you're either heading for that magnificent place or you're calling it quits. And I've seen this in many, many people, not just this company that I'm talking about, and I'm not going to name them. People that follow me might have an idea of who it is, because they've probably seen the announcement. But if you know who it is, I'm not trying to like out them or anything. But I've seen companies give up on their dream. And maybe they never had it to begin with. I don't think they had it to begin with. I remember last year, 2020, there was a dance studio in Colorado that closed. And they were a big dance studio. They did a GoFundMe, and they tried to raise $15,000 to pay their rent and bills for a month. And they raised about like $6,000. And it wasn't enough. And they shut their doors. And I remember getting their email announcement, because I was subscribed to their list, and they said, we're quitting. We're basically giving up. And it was almost the exact same message that this other company just recently said. It was like almost the same thing. Like, after so-and-so number of years in business, we're calling it quits. We're closing our doors, blah, 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 blah. It's like basically the same thing. I thought that's so interesting. There's this quote that if you want to be successful, don't study the failures. If you want health, don't study sickness, study health. Like, study the actual thing that you want, not the thing that you don't want. And so I even hesitated on whether I wanted to make this video or not, because, you know, there's almost nothing that can be learned from studying somebody that gives up on their dream. That's a failure. On the flip side, you can learn from it because you learn what not to do. And what not to do is don't give energy to anything that is not going to move you forward. That's what you don't want to do. Give all your energy, all your thinking, all your focus, all your action, time, attention, thoughts, thinking. Give all of it to the direction that you want to go in. And just tell yourself, quitting is not an option. I don't want to quit. I'm never going to quit. We're giving everything into making it work, succeeding. And I know that's a radical concept for a lot of people, but it's something that we need to learn, especially those business owners, those people, those entrepreneurs that have a great product or service and they have that potential and they're not making it work. Like they're holding themselves back somehow. So whoever needs to hear this, you only have two roads at this point. Go all in, make it work, or just fucking quit. I mean, call it quits, okay? You got to call it at this point. And I'm speaking this to myself as well, as I always do in my videos. This is for me as much as it is for anyone else. It kind of irritates me that somebody would shut their doors and just give up and not want to take the help, not want to take the advice. And it doesn't have to be from me. I mean, you don't have to take advice from any specific person. You have to take advice from the people that are doing the things that you want to do, the people who are being the way that you want to be, who have the character traits and the attributes that you want, the people that motivate, educate, and inspire you, and the people that you're drawn to. That's who you take the advice from. If they have the results that you want, listen to them. Do what they're doing. Do what they tell you to do. Like it's super simple. So, best wishes to this company that's closing down. It's really very unfortunate, but I almost have no empathy for that. I don't really have empathy for people that quit or give up. I really don't. I can imagine it would suck because I know how it felt moving back into my parents' house. That sucked. It really did. And I created that through my actions. I know exactly why it happened. I know exactly what would cause it to happen. I know exactly what to do to make damn sure it never happens again. And it's not an option for me. It's just not. So when you make something not an option, it makes it so much easier for you to go in the right direction because you're like, nope, not an option. Get the hell out of my way. We're going for it. Period. Done. End of story. So use this story, this video to inspire you to do what you need to do. Because if you don't give a shit about your business, nobody else does either. If you don't care enough to make it work, it's not going to work. You got to care. You got to give this your all. You don't have to do it exactly how anyone else does it, but you got to give it your all. Whatever that looks like for you. It's your business. You make it work. You grow yourself to the point where it works and you just don't quit. You can change, you can adapt, you can pivot, to use a very cliche, overused word. But you can do all of that and you can make it. And you don't have to let any circumstances derail you. Your circumstances actually show you where your mind is. It shows you your state of mind. Your circumstances don't control you or affect you. It reveals who you are inside.